Hello, this is Thomas Ellenberg, author of Uncle Tom's Classroom, coming to you from beautiful Honolulu, Hawaii. It is February 21st, 2008, and I would like to thank both Bill Maher and Larry King for bringing up an issue which I have been trying to get into the cultural conversation for many, many years now, and is the reason why I wrote this book, Uncle Tom's Classroom. Why did we, as free Americans, elect such ignorant leaders? You know what? There's a reason for that. And it's because we were taught inside the American school system, which is not a democracy and does not teach free thinking. It does not teach free discourse. It does not teach out-of-the-box problem solving. It does not teach life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It teaches Americans for 12 years, and if they go to child care and pre-K, longer than 12 years, and if they go into the university system, longer than that. It teaches us to be compliant, non-questioning Uncle Toms. So, if we elect leaders who appear to be ignorant, as Bill was just explaining, and know nothing about other world cultures or the history of other societies and the problems that our other nations are facing. If we elect leaders like that, we have to take responsibility. And what I'm offering today is the idea that there is a missing link in how all of this unfolded since the assassinations of JFK, Martin Luther King, Bobby, Malcolm X, the shooting of the 4 students at Kent State. There's a connection, and the connection is that we were taught to stand down. We were taught to go into our little safe comfort zones and become silent and compliant economic Uncle Toms. The chains around our ankles may be monetary, they may be green and invisible, but they're chains nevertheless if they keep us so afraid and keep us working so hard that we really have no time to develop our own thinking skills. Learning is power, and knowledge is power, and we have to take responsibility as a society for the fact that our elected officials represent our own social and spiritual lethargy. They represent our own inability to think clearly, and they represent our own lack of ethical integrity. Because if we were truly ethical, like Martin Luther King Jr., we couldn't stay silent, and we wouldn't just go into blame. Well, it's their fault. It's their fault. It's not my fault. You know what? America is one society, one culture made up of a wide diversity of subcultures and lifestyles and religions and points of view. But one thing we all have in common, most of us, and that's that we came through the public school system, a system which was a dictatorship of the mind, and unfortunately dumbed us down. And that's the missing link that I wish I could get across to people like Larry King and Bill Maher, that there is a reason, there is a cause for the effect. If America has become subjected to lemming-like leadership by people that, as you say so clearly in this video, know nothing about the world outside the dominant military-industrial paradigm that controls Washington, D.C., we need to take responsibility for that. And I'm very encouraged by what I see in the primaries lately, because Obama represents what he calls himself the audacity of hope. But what we need to do is we need to take that hope and apply it within ourselves to waking ourselves up enough to say, what can I contribute individually? How can I stop being an Uncle Tom, being so compliant and lethargic, and allowing the bread and circuses mentality of our Caesars, our present day Caesars, whether they're organized religions or organized governments or states or economic systems or the big giant corporations, how can we take responsibility ourselves for undoing the learning that turned us into Uncle Toms? And how can we become what my subtitle says is cosmic super selves? Larry, I saw that you had the people from The Secret on, and while I don't agree with everything that those New Agers are talking about, there is one thing that even quantum physicists have discovered, and that's what we talked about a lot in my classroom in San Francisco. The fact that we, with our thinking, affect our reality, not only our own individual personal reality, but our society's reality. And we have to connect the dots. We have to take responsibility for what's out there is a result, too, of all of our collective thinking put together. What I did in my classroom was I put up a sign that said, free speech allowed. I opened up free discourse. I had a very supportive parental and administrative body behind me. And I dropped the grading system. I told children that they were allowed to speak freely, they were allowed to read freely, and they were allowed to create their own curriculum based on their desire for individual life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In other words, I brought the ethical, basic core values of the American dream, the myth of the American dream of true individual freedom into my middle school classrooms, and the results were amazing. My children stopped behaving like Uncle Toms and began to own the fact that they were quantum masters, that they were like Jedi masters. They owned the fact that they had the Force within them, and that they were able to use the Force, use their energy, as we say here in Hawaii, use the mana, use that life essence, that consciousness that pours through our brains to create the realities that that represent their highest dreams. And we can do that for America as well, as long as we don't skip over the missing link. And the missing link in the entire discussion, I don't hear Obama or Hillary or McCain, I don't hear anybody really talking about the missing link. Instead, they talk about we have to improve education. Our children have to get a good education, and we have to blame the teachers and the schools if they don't get a good education, without even asking what is a good education. And that's what I'd like people to do right now, is begin to say, what is a good education? My discovery, like Neo in the Matrix, was that a good education is an education that teaches children not how to memorize rote and memorize the party line and become consumeristic, capitalistic automatons to fit in the merry-go-round, the economic merry-go-round that controls the world right now, but to become ethical, awake citizens of the cosmos, and to realize that if the universe took almost 20 billion years to evolve us, there is a really good reason for us to be here, and that we all, each individually, need to seek and find that reason. I gave my children the freedom to design their curriculums of bliss, in which we follow Joseph Campbell's ideas that if you follow your bliss, guess what? You find your bliss. And my children developed curriculum which included all of the strands in a way that expanded their consciousness, raised their ability to self-actualize, and actually allowed them to discover who they really are. They're not, nor are any of us, Uncle Toms. We are actually citizens of the entire cosmos, and we have incredible superpowers of higher consciousness just percolating up, waiting for us to express them. I would really like to inject those ideas into the discussion as we head for the election, because we need leaders who will take the lid off and allow out-of-the-box thinking, and allow us to own the fact that we have a cosmic right and a divine right to our lives, to liberty, equality, and happiness.